Hi everyone in English 1301. Welcome back to week number 3. I'm just going to walk through the different expectations and assignments for this week, so I'm just going to jump right in and pull up D2L. Please make sure that you also watch the supplemental video. Not only will it have information that is important for the weekly quiz, but it offers us a way to kind of contextualize and go back to the readings and really try to make sense of some of those things. So it's important. All right. Okay, so I have information from the announcements. Make sure that you've looked at those just to make sure that you're keeping up with all the information. I'm going to go to the content area and click on week number 3. Okay, so you'll see that everything is coming here from the syllabus or the schedule, right? So watch the weekly instructional video, re-watch if need be the reading journal instructional video, which I have a link for right here, in addition to the supplemental video, which I will post after this. The prompt will be posted on Monday for the writing discussion, and that's related to meeting the expectations of academic writing. So make sure that you've read that prior to Thursday. And then I've put here to start your reading journal document in Word format. So you should be including entries for every text, including last week's texts, from now on until it is due. Some of you had questions about this. The reading journal is just a running document, so for each week you will add to the document with entries for each of the readings. So for this week we only have one entry, and that's for the book chapter, whereas last week we had 2. One entry for Irvin's article and one entry for Lunsford's chapter on style, okay? So moving forward, you just want to keep a running document until it is due. It'll be due in week 4, and then once you turn it in for week 4, you're going to start fresh with a brand new document for the readings from then on, okay? So just keep that in mind. Keep it somewhere saved, okay? So your writing post will be due by 11:59 p.m. on Thursday, as the usual, and then by Sunday you need to respond to 2 colleagues, and then make sure you've completed the participation quiz, and then make sure that you're looking forward, right? What do we have to do next week? We have 2 different readings. One is an article that I will post that's a PDF, and another is from our course text. And I put a note here, don't forget to keep up with your reading journal, right? Because that is going to be due at the end of week 4. So I have placed a link here to the reading journal video, just again to kind of revisit that, to remind you. And then we have the post for week number 3. This post is really asking you to make some connections from Irvin's text, the article on what is academic writing. Remember, that's where he talks about the different myths associated with college writing, that good grammar is good writing, or the 5-paragraph essay. So we want to make connections between that and what we learned about academic writing from Irvin, and add to what we learned this week from Lunsford's chapter on meeting the expectations of academic writing. Okay, so I want you to connect the both, and the first is going to be a paragraph in the post about Irvin's ideas, right? So write a paragraph, and I'm looking for 6 to 7 sentences here. Write a paragraph that identifies Irvin's ideas about academic writing, because supporting our ideas is going to be pretty important from here on out and in all college writing. I want you to pick a useful quote from Irvin, okay? Something that helps identify or support your ideas about what he's working through in terms of identifying what academic writing is, right? So to follow MLA guidelines, be sure to accurately, which means word for word, exactly as it appears on the page, type the quote, use quotation marks, make sure that just the last name and page number is coming in parentheses after the quote. There's no PG or anything else. I get some really inventive stuff sometimes from students. And note that the punctuation goes after the parentheses. So I've included an example here, and it's not one you should use because it really doesn't have anything to do with academic writing. It's just his first sentence. So here's the example. Irvin begins his work by connecting with his audience by writing, comma, and then I use quotation marks. As a new college student, comma, you may have a lot of anxiety and questions about the writing you'll do in college. The end quotation marks go here. There is a space, and then the beginning quotation mark, or I'm sorry, the opening parentheses, the author's last name, then there is a space, and then there is a page number. Okay, there's no PG, there's no anything else. It looks really simple and almost looks wrong because it's so simple. You close the parentheses and the period or punctuation always goes outside the ending parentheses, which again is kind of weird because shouldn't it go here? That's where it is in the quote. No, it needs to go after, the area where you've given credit to the author. And I put, see how I integrated the quote into my own sentence, right? I introduced it here. I said, Irvin begins his work, so I'm giving some background, and then I'm including a quote with the proper citation. We want to start practicing that, right? We don't want to just dump quotes, in as full sentences without giving an explanation. That's why you need 6 to 7 sentences for the paragraphs here instead of the other 4 to 5. You need more space to introduce and then explain your quote. We should always, every time we're using quotations, explain the relevance. Why is it important? Why is this quote something that helps identify Irvin's ideas or Lunsford's ideas, right? So explaining the quote takes some space. That's why 6 to 7 sentences is required in a paragraph that requires research, right? Okay. So I put note that if you include the author's last name in the actual sentence, you don't really need to then include it in the parentheses. But, it's better to be safe than sorry, right? And we're just working on practice right now. So I'm asking you to do some of this just to make sure we're kind of going through the standard MLA requirements. Okay. Now we want to do the same for Lunsford's chapter. So write, a paragraph that's 6 to 7 sentences that reveals what she identifies as the requirements for meeting the expectations of academic writing. It's not a long chapter, but it's a long enough chapter where you will have to make some decisions, right? You are not going to be able to cover absolutely everything she notes about meeting the expectations of academic writing. There's just not the space for that. So you need to identify what you think is the most important or relevant or connects the most to Irvin's ideas in his article, okay? You need to also include a quote, just like you did for Irvin's paragraph, just to support your ideas, right? To show that you're not only engaging with Lunsford's ideas, but you're also working through how to include quotes to support your ideas, which is always going to be a part of college or academic writing, okay? This means you will need to focus on what you believe are the crucial areas in the chapter, and everyone's will be a little bit different, okay? So I want you to note that when it comes to the discussion post, you will need to post your response before you see other people's work. That's just so that you don't skew your writing based on what you see other people write. Just go with your gut, go with your ideas. Even if once you post it, you see that it kind of varies a little bit from other folks, that's going to happen and that's fine. You just need to support your ideas as you write, okay? And then finally, create 2 thoughtful and thought-provoking questions for your colleagues to answer, and that's going to be related to the chapter by Lunsford. So I put here, you need to avoid simple yes or no questions and instead, push one another to really think about, your own writing, their writing, push your colleagues in the question to think about how they write or what they thought about academic writing before reading these things. Part of your grade will be based on how thoughtful your questions are, that you're avoiding very simplistic ideas, that you're not seeking simplistic answers from your colleagues. You're really pushing one another to think and to show that you've read, right? That's part of the question as well, okay? So I put here your responses to 2 colleagues are due by 11:59 p.m. And then I put also just as a reminder, that you will need to fully answer both of the questions posed by each colleague, right? So for each person you respond to, you need to make sure you're answering both of those questions. Show that you've read their ideas and show that you've read the assigned chapter. And then, of course, you have your weekly quiz, which will be due by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. And that quiz is going to ask questions from this video, from the supplemental video, and from the reading, okay? So it's a full kind of quiz view. It's a full view of what we've done this week, so make sure you prepare for that. All right. If you have any questions, you can always post in the Q&A area or you can shoot me an email. All right, y'all. Good luck this week. Hang in there.